Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning. Welcome to Capital to the Coast BNI. Each week, we bring you a local small business success story, either from the Triangle chapters in the Raleigh area or the coastal chapters in the Wilmington area. And if you're not familiar with BNI, it is Business Networking International, the world's largest networking organization. Each week, there are 30 chapters in the Triangle and 9 chapters in the Wilmington region to get together, and our goal is to help each other grow our businesses. And our guest this week is Julie Price with JoCo Plumbing. Julie is part of RD19, the 919 networking group in Clayton. They meet Thursday mornings at 8:30 at Spinning Mill Lofts in Clayton. So if you want to meet some folks in Clayton that are getting some good business done and they're a lot of fun to hang out with on Thursday morning, please go visit our chapter. Good morning, Julie. How are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing good. Glad to have you on for a number of reasons because I know we're gonna have a good time chatting and learning about businesses and everything. But here are the folks. Here are the only things Julie has going on. Other than that, she's got all the time she needs. So in her chapter, she is secretary treasurer and social media coordinator. And I believe Matt would probably say the hammer that keeps things in order. I think he would probably, the
Yeah,
velvet hammer because you do it with a smile, right?
yeah, yeah.
And then, so her and her husband, Alan, own JoCo Plumbing. We know Alan's busy in the field doing all the handiwork of plumbers, but Julie is the administrator, the marketing director, and the bookkeeper of a very successful business. And there's 2 kids. So other than that, not much more could be put on your plate, right?
Sure, why not? Just keep adding it on. It's fine.
Now, do you enjoy 122 miles an hour from what 6 a.m. to what 10 p.m.?
Starts at 5:30.
Okay.
So starts at 5:30 and yep, goes right on spot. I try by 9 p.m. to be in bed, but
Yeah.
10's probably more like it.
All right. So, love hearing husband wife business stories, and we'll get to that. Some of the questions on that. Um, you and Alan have been in business for how long?
We officially were established, like we signed up through Secretary of State July of 22, but we did not officially launch until January of 23. So he got his plumbing license December of 23. And as soon as we got that, we were rocking and rolling.
All
So we
right.
launched. So since pretty much January of 23 until now.
All right. So let's go back to the initial conversations about, hey, honey, do you think this is a good idea?
So we both came from plumbing
Mhm.
backgrounds, both worked for a plumbing company, which is where we actually met. So he was right out of high school, did one semester at JCC. School's not his thing. He's very mechanically gifted, not when it comes to books. So at right after one semester, he started working for a plumbing company and started working in the warehouse. Then became a tech assistant and worked his way up to being their top service tech and was there for like 13 years. I came in the picture in 2014 when I moved from Massachusetts to North Carolina. I applied for all these sorts of places, and that plumbing company was the only one that called me back and did a FaceTime interview. So did that, started there, worked there for 8 years, learned a lot, and then we started to say, why are we doing this for someone else when I know all the like inside stuff of being a CSR,
Mm.
marketing, all the fun stuff there, and he knows all the out in the field stuff. So we just were like, why are we doing this for someone else when we could be doing this for ourselves and be very successful at it? And so that's what we did. I put in my 2 weeks at the place that we were working and started to go to a bank for a little bit, just because we needed something in between because you can't be working for a plumbing company and trying to grow your own company. It just kind of doesn't work out that way. So when I put my 2 weeks in, he also left. It just kind of worked out that way. And so he started to dive into that. I, through the bank, was introduced to BNI, and that's where I realized what networking was because I've never heard of it before, never did anything, never heard of BNI. So at the bank, they told me you need to go out and network. I did consumer loans, so that was a big part of it, and joined a BNI group. And then when I joined, I told my husband, "You're going to join a BNI group, so you're going to be the plumber in my group." And then after being at the bank for about 10 months and seeing what the power of networking can do
Mm.
for me as a banker, I was like, I could do this for my company full time. We could really grow and do something with this. So kind of took a leap of faith. May of 23, so only after like 5 months of launching, I jumped on full time to JoCo Plumbing, jumped full time into networking. He let me take over his plumbing seat very willingly. Um, because he's like, I'm a plumber, I'm not a networker.
Yep.
This is definitely more my wheelhouse of things. So he's like, I will gladly give it over to you. So that's what we did. Um, and that's kind of how we just
Yep.
rolled with it. I jumped in BNI, doing chamber events, things like that, and just got our name out there and haven't been able, didn't look back. We just
Yep.
kept rolling with it.
And you mentioned a wonderful phrase about small business owners. It truly is a leap of faith on about yourself. It is also not for the faint of heart. Some people think, "Oh man, Julie and Alan, they got their own business. They don't have to work on Friday if they don't want to. They're making money." And people have no idea what goes. People who've never owned a business, because your business is your life.
Yeah.
When that phone rings, with just the two of you right now, when that phone's rings, it's you guys. There's nobody, no other technician right now to call to handle something, correct?
Correct. Yeah,
Yeah,
he has a helper. So we do have our technician assistant, just so he could be able to handle everything, and not kill his body.
yeah,
so, but yeah, with the three of us, I mean, we've been rocking and rolling, and yeah, the phones, especially this past week with frozen weather, have
yeah.
been crazy. So yeah, there's no putting it down. We do try to implement, fewer try boundaries of
Mhm.
saying like, okay, we since we are small, we don't offer emergency services, which is not normal for a plumber, but we try to protect our boundary with our family and putting that first. Like, this is why we went into business, is to fit our lifestyle. And with two young kids, we have a 4-year-old and a 7-year-old and a mother-in-law that we're taking care of, in our household. So there's just, we kind of have to set those boundaries, which we've been pretty good about. But as a new business owner, that's a hard lesson to learn that we're trying really hard to do.
So going back to the planning stages, and you mentioned taking a job at the bank, so you knew you had to plan for some sort of revenue, whether it's going to be for only 3 months or oh gosh, we're going to need this for 11 months. What other kind of things with regard to kids' school, after school? What's your role with all this? What other kind of conversations do you guys have on planning for this?
Planning wise, a lot of it was just seeing like where we are with our budget, what we can handle. Luckily, we're in a industry that's in very high demand, and it's an essential trade to have. So a lot of our calls that we get, it's not a matter of wanting things, it's a matter of necessity. So we're lucky in that aspect that business has been really steady and reliable, on Alan's, or half of, the plumbing side of it. Like, once we went into a few houses, we were able to just grow right from the beginning with word of mouth by doing a good job, which is key.
Mm.
Actually doing the work you're going to say you're going to do and doing it, well. So we were lucky in that aspect. But like, I mean, I had experience with the bank. I knew what a home equity line of credit was. So I was able to use that, and we kind of use that as a buffer. So there's definitely a lot of financial things you got to take advantage of. And then it is scary to know, like, okay, well, we're going to charge these things on this, and you do use your house as collateral. But I had so much faith in myself and Alan that I knew it wasn't a risk. It was a matter of just like, we had to do it, and we have to use these funds at first. And I know we'll pay it back, and we're just going to grow from there. So a lot of it's, having some budget, talk to, some bankers, talk to, your investment team if you have, a financial advisor, and see what options are available, to just try it and just don't be afraid. You just got to do it.
How did you go about buying a truck, equipment, and all those things?
So a few things. So like I said, we did use a lot of our home equity line of credit. We kind of use that as a good, the equity we put into the business in the beginning. We were lucky enough to buy our truck from our previous employer. So they phased out some of their trucks and they bought all new trucks. And luckily we had connections with them that they're like, hey, we're selling this truck that's already fitted for plumbing. You want to buy it off us for $10,000 flat.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
so we said, hell, all right, don't know if we can swear. Said, heck yeah.
You're allowed.
Like,
Yeah,
absolutely.
yeah.
Um, So, I mean, a lot of things were just lined up in a way that, I mean, consider it luck, consider it good karma. I don't know
Yeah,
what you want to call it, but we were in the right place at the right time that we were able to
yeah.
buy that equipment for a really great price and
Yeah,
get ourselves rolling.
and a couple things on that. So first of all, that tells me that you and Alan had a good relationship, and this was at Pools Plumbing, right?
Correct.
So we'll
Yep.
give them a shout out, all right? So you 2 had a good relationship with them, and you left the company in good standing, otherwise they never would have called you.
Yeah. And we
And
had connections too.
yeah,
His dad actually still worked there,
okay,
as their maintenance person. So we were able to, kind of have an insight there. But I was able to show up there, sign titles, do everything, talk
yeah.
with them, and we were still cordial,
And then
like
the
that.
the other thing that I think one of the better early decisions you made was we don't have to have a brand new $48,000 truck.
Yes. Yeah, especially for our one guy right now. Eventually as we grow, we want to put our new technician that we get, which goals within this year, buy a new truck for them. So we know that they're set up, they're good. And we don't mind putting ourselves in the crappy truck
Mm.
and going, if it breaks down, we're okay with that, but we know that they're safe, they're good, and we'll keep on building it that way.
Yeah, and you have one of those, and in B&I, we call them seats. So Julie has the plumbing seat. We don't need you, like you said earlier, until we absolutely need you. And then it's like, how quick? It's not, hey, I'm just checking prices, Julie. It's like, how quick
Right.
can you get here?
Correct. Yep. So it's definitely we're definitely a necessity based thing, which is why it's important for me to be in BNI
Mhm.
and out in events like that so I'm top of mind.
Yeah.
So it might not seem like I'm doing things in the immediate, but knowing I'm still there and that when that water heater goes, you're going to remember Julie Price, JoCo Plumbing, and we're going to be the first one you call.
Yeah, and I don't know if a lot of people realize that in the plumbing and electrician worlds, there's a shortage of workers.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, with the generations coming up, everybody's kind of switched to IT or things working
Mhm.
from home and not very mechanically uh, inclined things. So the trades are just a dying breed of people.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, which is good and bad. I mean, it's hard because it's hard to find good help, to teach and kids that actually want to get their hands dirty and learn and use their skills and their brain in a different way than what they're usually used to. But at the same time, too, we can kind of monopolize on it a little bit. I hate
Oh,
to use that
yeah.
word, but I mean, if you need someone, you we can charge what we can charge and justify and do things
Mhm.
that people are going to pay because they just simply don't know how to do it. Like you
Yeah.
just rebuilding a toilet. People don't even know how to do the basics of that. So,
And
but
love
we do
yeah.
pride ourselves. We try to educate our
Mm.
customers on our clients. We're really big advocates of educating people on their plumbing system, how it works, what to actually be worried about, what's okay, what's normal, what we personally do at our house. I try to really help our customers in that sense. We're not just trying to take
Mhm.
their money. We want to make sure that they're being taken care of.
And
Because,
you
like our
also yeah,
slogan says, we give a crap.
yeah, there
So,
you go. And, you also in a and I'll say this the right way, I think everybody will know what I mean. You don't mind getting those calls from the do-it-yourselfers who got a third of the way into replacing their toilet, and they're like, "Hey, Julie, I'm one third of the way through, and it's a mess. Can you come over here?"
absolutely. Yep. Those are our favorites. I was like, kudos, we're trying. And it's like, now, yeah, let the professional take over. We got you.
Yep.
We'll take care of you.
All right, so you mentioned work around the house and stuff. So does Alan have a honey-do list when he gets home every day?
Um, No, actually not too bad. We're pretty both like equally doing things around the house.
Okay.
So we're pretty good about that. So like he actually he'll we have a deal that he has well not has to, it just because of my ADHD. He does the laundry in a sense of he washes it and dries it because I'll forget it.
Ah.
But I have to fold it because it has to be done in a certain way. So we have a deal. He does that half of it and I'll do the second half of it and it works.
I like that. Now, how long did it take you guys to figure that system out?
Um, probably probably a few years because I'll leave it in there and then it stinks and it's awful. But then I watch him fold it and it makes my eye twitch.
Yeah.
So we got a system down. So we got a good system down now.
I do the most of the laundry at our house because I work out of the house. I'm a pretty decent folder. We don't have anything, but I've never learned how to fold a fitted sheet, so I just leave that for my wife to fold because I've tried and tried and tried, and it never looks good.
I got it down, so I'll help you out. I got you.
What am I? So I always have a couple questions for husband and wife, partners, owners. Uh, so two questions. What do you talk about after 6 o'clock? And who breaks the tie?
Who breaks the tie?
Yeah,
Ooh.
you know what I mean. You know what I mean.
Um, so well, a good thing with us, so like I said, we met each other at work at a different company. So our dynamic has always been in a work relationship. So I guess from the beginning we've been really good at working together in a plumbing aspect and then knowing when to cut it off and separating work from personal time. So when we started the business, we didn't have to learn that. We already had years of doing that together because we he worked I worked in the service section and so did he. So I he was already used to me telling him where to go and how to do it. So that wasn't really having to be a learned thing for us. And I think actually Alan's better at cutting it off of, you know, time wise of saying
Right.
like, okay, it's 5 o'clock, we're home, we're
Mm.
done. Because I could spend hours on the computer and with my ADHD, I'll hyper focus on things and start to go. And he's like, okay, come out to the living room, we're done. But I guess in a sense of tie, I don't know, we stay in our lanes of our kind of our niche things. Like he's out in the field, he knows what he's doing. He takes care of his truck and all of that type of stuff. Um, and he never like undermines me on scheduling or doing anything like that because he knows I have that. I have years experience and I'm really good at things like that. So we've been really good about like you own your side of things with customer service out in someone's house. I'll do with my customer service on this side. And he's really good about letting me take pictures and do whatever and putting on a silly face with thumbs
Yep.
up and letting me plaster him all over our Facebook. He's a really good sport about that. And so we're really, I don't know, we don't really have a tiebreaker. We're really
Oh, good.
good when it comes to communicating and working together
And
to get
that's
the
yeah, and
common
that's
goal.
what I've found is under and that's good in business in general is just understanding your lane. Because my brother and I
Yes.
have had a couple of businesses, and he is I don't need to get out and meet people. I don't want to meet people. I'm going to sit here, a back office. I mean, budgeting, finding stuff, all that was his jam. And I'm like
Yes.
you, I'm good talking to people all day long. So we
Yeah.
knew our lanes. We just wanted the check in the bank. That's all
Yep.
we cared about is the money in the bank.
Yep. Yes. So like he knew in the beginning he had to go out and network and
Yeah.
you know do that stuff in the beginning, but then as soon as we were like, okay, the phone's ringing enough that he can't work and answer the phone. So he's like, let's just we just joined in, did it, and I was able to go do the networking, which was way better.
Yeah.
No
And
offense to him, love him, but
yep, there
way
you go.
better.
And when I have a guest on who is married, I always like to ask them, how did you two literally, how did you two first meet? And do you both tell the story the same way?
Um, yeah, I think we both tell you the story the same way. So we met at work, but in a way at work that he was a helper at the time, and his technician, the way it was, like the main technicians would come into the office to turn in paperwork and talk about the schedule for the day with the coordinators and things like that. So his lead technician came in one afternoon. They got out early, and he was all excited. He said, "Oh, I'm going to get to go hang with my buddy Alan." And he then was like, "Hey, you should meet Alan." Like, kind of played Cupid. I've never met Alan, never seen him, had no idea what he looked like because he's never been in the office. And I was like, "No, I'm good. I just kind of got over a breakup, and I just moved here from Massachusetts, so like, I'm good right now." So that same guy Joe, he went and told Alan like, "Hey, the girl likes you in the office. You should ask her out." So not
Nice.
even ever seeing him, he told Alan that I liked him, and then he told me that Alan liked me. So he kind of like played Cupid, and it gave Alan the confidence to ask for my number.
So wait,
over the work tablet, and then
even though you 2 had never met?
never met,
That's
never met,
funny.
never saw each other. But this
Oh,
guy Joe, like he was the sweetest and just was like, I know your personality and I know your personality. I think you guys would be good together. So he played matchmaker and told each other that we liked each other. And then so yeah, and it
uh,
all worked out. And then we were together ever since.
at the wedding, was there any recognition of Joe's role in this?
Unfortunately, he passed away.
Oh, no.
The rest, he's so sweet. He was older. But and like we had a weird wedding because we got married February of 2020. So it was like right before
No.
everything
Yep.
shut down. Um, and which was fine. Like I was totally fine with a small wedding. So we literally just had my best friend, his best friend, and our immediate family. And he's an only child, so it's just like his parents,
Mm.
and then my sister and nieces and nephew, and very very small. Like got married on a Thursday at 11. Um, and
Mhm.
I picked the date of 2/20/2020 just so he could remember it because Alan's terrible with dates.
Hey, that's good.
Yeah, I made it
Okay.
easy for him.
There you
Super
go.
easy.
I like that. So where was the first date?
So our first date was actually in this room because it was a weird he was working full time. And we were supposed to go out and then he got called out and got something. So he's like, we can reschedule if you want, or if you want to just come over and hang out, we can. So that's what we did. I just
Mhm.
came over and we hung out and watched a movie.
Alright, so, when did you know something was there and this was gonna go somewhere?
Oh, so I'd say at the backstory at that time, when we first started talking, my niece uh, went into the hospital, and she had a heart transplant. So at that
Oh.
time, she had got life flight. It was a whole thing, and I like just moved here that August, and then this all happened in November with her. So in the midst of all that, started talking with him, and she was at Duke Hospital, and I was like, "Hey, do you wanna come meet my family?" And so he came to the Ronald McDonald House, which is, like, right next to Duke, and met my whole family because we were all staying there, we were at the hospital every day pretty much. So I was like, "Do you wanna come meet my family?" And so he went to the Ronald McDonald House, sat down, met my whole family, went and saw my niece who was, like, on all these machines, it was crazy, and he stuck around.
Nice.
So I was like, if he can go through that and not be intimidated and was so just like welcoming and just yeah, and he stuck around. So that was a sign that I was like, this is a good guy.
There you go, I
He's
like that.
yeah.
Do you remember the very first client of JoCo Plumbing?
Ooh, I'm trying to think who are very yes. So one of our first ones was so it was kind of a weird referral story. So one of the guys I worked with at pools um knew that this client was a friend, wasn't gonna be a good fit for pools at the time just because of the type of work he wanted. But the fact that I made this relationship with the guy that worked at pools and that he referred his friend to us, and said, I know pools isn't gonna be a good fit, but I know them. They're a new company. I know they're good people, and I know they're gonna mesh well with your personality of just a good old country boy kind of stuff. So he's like, let me, refer him to you. And then so Tony became one of our first clients, and he's referred us to so many people, just because we were able to help him out with a frozen yard hydrant and that fed his horses and stuff like that. It was crazy,
Oh,
but yeah, yeah. But he's been with us from the very beginning, one of our very first, and he's referred us to so many people,
cool.
um, just from treating them well. So
Alright,
that
so
was awesome.
with new businesses, we always struggle with, "Alright, what do I charge? Because we gotta pay the bills. We're like, "Alright,
Yep.
I'd rather have 40 bucks than I could get 70, but I really I
Yeah.
know I'll get 40." So did you guys were there many adjustments when you first started, with the business?
Here and there. I mean, given we've been in the industry for so
Mhm.
long, we knew a good baseline of what you had to charge. I mean, you have to charge some kind of diagnostic if you're actually going out to fix something. Now, there are certain things that we charge. Do a free on-site is estimate. Now, those are things like bigger jobs, like things that we know we can't get done that day. we're going to charge, we do a free estimate. So, like, if you want to upgrade your water heater to a tankless, if you need to replace your main water line, that's going to take machinery. So,
Mm.
um, things like that, we were understanding, and that's how most companies work. Because he's worked for a few different companies. I only worked for the one, but that's the similar structure. So we had a lot of experience in that. We did adjust our diagnostic only once so far, just because of economy and figuring out we're paying someone 1099 for a helper. Now we're
Mm.
doing hourly, so we have to, work with that and grow with that as our business grows. But luckily, we had a lot of experience doing that, um, and just having that information already on hand.
Yeah, and it's a good thing you guys had that industry knowledge because
Yeah,
many businesses like, well, and we always sell ourselves short. I mean,
yeah,
like I had a conversation the other day with somebody about pet sitters,
yeah,
and you always charge about $10 more than what it would cost them to board their dog. And say,
yes,
yeah, our price is worth it because your dog gets to sleep in their own bed.
yeah. It's a
Instead of
luxury.
so if it's
You're
90
paying for that.
if it's $90 to board your dog, to board somebody's dog, the pet sitter should not be charging $40. So,
Yeah,
they should be charging more,
yeah.
so that's good that you guys had that, though.
Yeah,
Uh
so we're good with that. We're still kind of working out kinks of like what we should be charging for certain jobs, and how that works. I listen to a lot of podcasts, so I get a lot of guidance from that about how you're supposed to, mark up and charge for your hours and how you should calculate your
yeah,
hourly rate because you got to accommodate for all your overhead and things like that. Luckily, I have time on my hands to figure all that out, and that's what a lot of I think trades are missing. New trade or new businesses in the trades are missing. A lot of times you get the technician who's really good at doing what they're doing, like plumbing. Alan's a wonderful plumber. He's the best of the best. But when it comes to business and doing
yeah,
that stuff, he's like, I don't even know where to begin with that side of it. He's like, I can provide a service, I can do the work, I can make sure it is done to a T and beautiful plumbing, but I have no idea on this side, how to do things. So luckily we have that partnership where I can dive into our business side and look at the finances and tweak here and tweak there, to maximize our profits and actually look at our profits and know what that means and our margins and work with
yeah,
our bookkeeper to analyze things. So
yep. It helps. Yeah, I mean,
it does.
that teamwork helps. Alright, so when I first talked to you about coming on the show, and then I did some research because I like to do research and ask fun questions and know a little bit more about the business, I
Yeah,
see the company name JoCo Plumbing. And I'm like,
yeah.
"Okay, I get it," and I didn't. Please tell us how your company name came about.
So it's a twofold. So I mean, yes, JoCo, Johnson County. It just helps because it marketing wise, it lets people know our target area, where we're servicing. But it also we, landed on that finally because of our kids' names. We have, our daughter Jolene and our son Colton, so we took the first 2 letters from their names, Jolene, Colton, put it together, JoCo, so it was too good to pass up. So we played with the whole, do we do Price Plumbing because that's our last name,
Mm,
or like Right Place Plumbing, playing on words, things like that. Ultimately, JoCo was just it nailed it when we're like, oh, that's our kids' names put together. It's perfect. So now we just need to make sure we have no more kids because then we'd have
yeah,
to name them like Plumber or
yeah.
something like that.
And the other thing I'm always, interested in with business names is, how did somebody else not grab that name before you guys came along?
I don't know. I mean, I guess again, I think we just have a lot of good karma on our side somewhere built up that it hadn't been taken yet. So we were lucky in that sense. I looked it up and I was like, it's still available. We gotta lock in on this now because
Oh,
it's
yeah,
it's gonna be taken before you know it.
yeah. Now, how do you and Alan, and I think more of this probably during the day falls into your, wheelhouse, though, balancing 2 little kids, a business, a marriage, I see a dog in the back, probably hobbies and stuff like that. How do you guys manage all that on a normal day and whatever a normal day is?
Yeah, I mean, today is actually a normal day. Last week was a crazy between holiday, we had a stomach bug go through the house, and snow, which closed down everything. So, yeah, last week was crazy. This week's a little bit more normal, but routine's everything for us. I have a calendar that I live by. It is time blocked for every little thing I'm doing. And just having the same routine I wake up the same time every day, give or take. There's times life happens, but
Mm.
try to wake up the same day every day, go to bed the same day every day. Do the repeat thing every Thursday. I go to BNI. I already know I'm setting up before, open networking afterwards. I already have a one-to-one already pre-programmed into my calendar. So I know these are the same things, which I know some it might seem boring for some, but it helps my family thrive and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to maximize just because there's so much going on and so many people in
Mm.
different places. So have a calendar, time block, and stick to it.
So prior to the kids, your oldest one's in school, right?
Yes.
And youngest one is where during the day?
Daycare.
Okay.
Yep. So she's
So
4. She's in daycare full time, Monday
so
through Friday.
right. So
Um,
prior to the kids getting home, what's the percentage of your day being in the house or out in the field doing whatever role you're doing?
Percentage wise, so I try to do so Tuesdays and Thursdays are my days that I try to go out and about into the community doing whether it's chamber stuff or BNI related things. And then depending too, I mean, I might have to go pick up material for Alan and go
Mm.
to Hubbard and Garner or go over to Ferguson on Yonkers Road in Raleigh, having to go. So it can change depending on what's going on. But typically Tuesdays, Thursdays, I try to get out to do more networking things. I'm usually always at my desk from 9 to 11 doing my CSR stuff, calling back people, writing quotes, sending those out, doing our follow ups, doing any marketing things. And then my afternoons are kind of just flexible to work on projects, whether that's updating our price book, updating our website, working on social media content. That's kind of flexible. So I say I time block and try to have the same routine, but I also allow a little space for spontaneity to say, what am I needing to work on most? So I just kind of block my afternoons for projects, and then that can be whatever it may be at the time.
Now, do you treat yourself? Because back in the day when my brother and I had our first business, I did all the cold calling. I knocked on doors, and I would say, "All right, the minute I get 20 is I think it may have been 15 names of people to follow up with, I went and got the biggest sweet tea I could get. That was my reward for hitting my goals." So do you do any of those for yourself?
Um, Depending, I don't have to do cold calls,
Yeah,
so I don't miss that, I don't have to do those. I will go get my nails done
there you
and get my
go.
toes done
Yep,
and kinda, like, block myself for an afternoon to go do the mani-pedi
yep.
deal and make myself feel pretty.
Good. Have we I'm assuming in your mani-pedi, you probably had to answer the phone and book business, right?
I try not to. On those days, I'd say I'm getting good, I'm working on setting boundaries and knowing, like and mentally telling myself,
Mm.
it's okay to call people back. Like these 2 hours, I usually put my headphones on and I listen to a podcast. I love podcasts, love them. So I usually will do that and just for those 2 hours, give myself that.
So early last week, I know you laughed at the amount of snow the triangle got because to you, it's like, shoot, we still do. We sunbathe out there. We go lay out by the pool in that snow,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Give me the best snow story. You went to University of Massachusetts at Lowell.
yes,
So you were raised in Massachusetts?
yes, yep.
Okay. Give me the best snow story that you remember.
I don't know. There was always so much of it. I don't know the best. I think one of like core memories though, I'd say. So I don't know why I had a convertible in Massachusetts, but that was one of my first cars was a convertible, which is terrible. It leaked, the roof leaked. It was awful. It was so cold. But one of my core memories was driving around. I lived in a small little town. We literally had like one blinking yellow light. So when you think Mass, I was like 45 minutes outside of Boston in a suburb. But just driving around town with my 2 friends with the roof down in the middle of January while it was snowing and we had the heat blasted. And I'm a musical Broadway kind of geek, so we were like blasting Rent or something at the top, singing at the top of our lungs, driving around, just having a good old time and drifting in the snow and with the roof down. So yeah, that was one
Did
of my best
did you get some
snow
looks
times.
from people that you passed on the road?
I think it was like midnight. We were driving around. I was older, so we were. I mean, innocent fun. We weren't doing anything wrong, but we were just, yeah, driving ar I mean, probably. We probably did
Yeah.
have looks, but we were just in our own world having a blast, just singing musicals and driving around in the snow.
I always like to ask my northern friends, do you have a story of jumping off your roof into a snowbank?
I don't think I actually jumped off I mean, I could have easily, I just don't think my mom allowed me. We had enough snow, but yeah, we lived, like, in wooded area, so we were constantly like, there was a giant hill that you could sled down,
Mhm.
and we're always sledding, and I don't miss it, though. It was fun, but it's just cold, and it's miserable, and then when it gets to, like, April, it just
Mm.
becomes all slush, and, like, that's what people don't talk about, slush. Ugh, it's awful.
Now, I've met some people that have moved down here from the north, and eventually their family followed them down to this area. Has that happened with you?
I was the follower.
Oh,
So my sister moved down first, then my parents moved down, and then when my parents moved, I was like 22 at the time, so I was still in or still in college. And I was like, I'm not moving to North Carolina. What are you talking about? Like, I'm not moving. I'm going to school. I have my friends. And then after 2 years, I moved down
yeah.
because I visited and I was like, "You know what? You know, the 70 degrees in December, it's Christmas Day, we're sitting outside drinking coffee." I was like, "Okay, I can get used to
Yeah.
that." So,
And
yeah,
and
after 2 years, finally, I moved down, and then grandma was the last one to move down, so
and
we're all
yeah.
we're all here.
And how many times have you been back?
Let's see. Only a handful.
Yeah.
Under 5 times
Yeah.
I've been back. Um, we're getting better this year. Last year I went and saw my girlfriends twice because I got one that still lives in Lowell, Mass, and then my other girlfriend lives in Maine. So we did last year. We got in last January. Went up to Maine, and I brought Alan because Alan's born and raised here. If you ever hear him talk, you know. Um, but he's born and raised here, so he's never seen like snow. So I
Oh,
was like,
yeah.
you know what? We're gonna book a trip to Maine in January. I guarantee we're gonna see snow. So luckily we got there, spent the weekend, a long weekend there with them, and it did snow that weekend. So we actually got to build a snowman. We got to
Hey.
go sledding, do all the fun things, got some lobster. So he got to have the New England experience, and it was awesome.
I don't know that I've ever met a graduate of the University of Massachusetts at Lowell. What was the best thing about going to school there?
So at first I went to UMass Amherst, which is
Okay.
like the bigger one. It's a big party school. It's a big school. So I went there for a semester, and it just was too big for me. Like I said, I'm from a small town, so I graduated with like 88 kids in my whole high or in my
Jeez.
class. We had under 400 kids in our entire high school, so very small. So when going to that was kind of a culture shock. And I was coming home every weekend, so then I transferred to UMass Lowell and was able to commute. So I was a commuter kid, and went there and graduated. But I loved Lowell that it was like a small. It was kind of like Raleigh in a sense,
Mm.
of like the downtown setting. It's a small city, but it was fun. I got to meet a lot of new people, and especially commuting. I had, got to see and do a lot of things there. So I loved going to UMass Lowell. It was a good school.
Well, good. All right. So we're supposed to get warmer weather later on this week, but we're assuming another cold snap is probably going to come through. So as we
Yeah.
go through these times, give us a couple of tips for renters or homeowners, a couple things they need to be aware of about their house, either inside or outside.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of things is knowing, where your plumbing is located, your main shutoff. Always know where your main shutoff is, so that way you can get the water off to your house immediately in the event of emergency. Um, you want to test that, I'd say every quarter, just make sure it's working and that the knob, you can, whether it's a knob or the valve, turning it on and off, make sure it works. If it doesn't work, that's when you give us a call. We can make sure, get you a new one that works. Worst case, call your city, call
Mm.
the jurisdiction wherever your water supplies through, and they can come out and turn it off at the meter. So worst case, have that number on standby. They'll come out and turn it off, and so you can get a plumber out there. To keep things warm, make sure if you have, a faucet that's in a vanity, open up the cabinet so you can get some warm air in there. Make sure your vents are closed in your crawl space so cold air is not drafting through there and freezing your pipes. Um, and just try to keep the temperatures up and keep your faucets at a steady flow, not a drip. People get confused. A drip can still freeze. you want a pretty steady flow. That way it's still moving, and keep that through the night when the temperatures go down. That will help. And
Are
then if it does freeze, because we had a lot of people that were like, "Oh my god, I'm panicking. I have no water coming out." Check the weather, check to see if the temperature's going to warm up. Like last week, we had a lot of calls on Friday, and I was like, "Just give it a few minutes.
mm,
It's going to warm up to 50 degrees. It's going to be fine. Keep those faucets open, and then you'll start to see it drip, meaning it's thawing out." And then if your plumbing's on an exterior wall, that's totally normal to freeze, because in North Carolina, there's not the same codes as per se Massachusetts, where it has to be super insulated. So if your shower faucet's on the outside wall, then it's probably gonna freeze, and that's totally normal. Just open it up, let it thaw out, and give it some time, and it'll get there. A lot of these houses are made with PEX piping, so it's plastic. It's meant to expand and contrast, so you shouldn't have any bursting, unless you have copper. That's where it gets a little tricky.
are you a proponent of us turning our water off if we go on vacation for a few days?
You can absolutely turn your water off. What tricks people is, once you turn it off, you have to open up all the faucets to let it drain out.
Yep.
So we've had a few people like, "But I turned it off." I was like, "Did you drain it?" Like, "No." I was like, "Well, then it's still pressurized in there. There's still water in there." So remember, you can turn it off, but then go throughout your whole house, open every faucet up, let it actually drain out so it's actually empty.
Yeah.
And that's how you properly do.
Well, good. All right. So, folks, we've been putting Julie's phone number on the screen here during the show. This is one of those things you need to call an expert for. You may think, oh, my Uncle Billy does this. He's a handyman, but he's not really a plumber. And no, it's worth the money in the long run to do it right once. So please give Julie and Alan a call. Any questions you have, they'll come out and talk to you, look at some stuff. She said they do some free estimates. Others are, they put a price on it, which is fine, but make sure you have somebody like them in your Rolodex, so when life does happen, you got somebody who knows what they're doing to come fix your problem. So, anyways, Julie, enjoyed having you on the show. Thank you for the stories and the knowledge of what to do and what not to do. And we will see everybody next time on Capital to the Coast BNI.
You are tuned to the Nissan Communications Network. If you tuned in too late, you can always watch each program in its entirety or download an MP3 audio file of it in the archives section at nissancommunications.com. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Twitter, and like us on Facebook. Sponsored by StreamingGear.com and DeltaForce.net.